Hey everyone, and welcome to the Purple, Yellow, Red and Blue podcast bonus episode. Going to keep this short and sweet. This is a recent Discord Q&A with John and a couple of the guys. They help out for the band and the community. I was unable to attend due to the time zone it started. Some really good updates and in-depth stuff in this one. Hoping this reaches more people because it's great to hear. Thank you to Henry and Chris for all you guys do. Alright, let's get into it.
For those that are here that don't know, Henry is I don't know, what is your formal title? Are you like a assistant band manager kind of or manager in training sort of thing?
Whatever you want to call me, a jack of all trades. I work with Rich on the management side, and I have the joy of joining the band on the road a lot of the time as well. So you may have seen me running around. I'm always wearing a hat, small, somewhat of a beard.
What are you talking about right now?
He asked me what my role is, what I do. I was like, I don't know. You tell me.
Nice. It's fun. Small hat.
Yeah, that's it.
That narrows it down at a PTM show.
Hey guys, anyone that works with Portugal the Man is worthy of appreciation.
Awesome. We've done it. We did it. We did it, y'all. I made it to the chat.
We are ready to roll. We got a lot of people on here, which is super exciting. For those that don't know, John is the one talking right now. Now he is, but
okay. So that's the way to make me really nervous and anxious about the whole thing.
Cool. Then we'll just start running through questions. How about that? We got a bunch of them.
Perfect.
For anybody that has questions too, that wants to just jump off mic and ask, that's always fun. We like to go that direction. Thanks to everyone that put questions in the thread. That's super cool. I'm going to kind of be picking some at random. If one is really pressing on your mind, then hit us up again. John, do you want to run through some of your thoughts on this record and what you're feeling about it?
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, it seems like it took a long time to get this thing done. We kind of went through a lot of different phases of making music and then shutting down completely. I think with the rest of the world, we obviously shut down for a couple of years with the pandemic. And oddly, it was weird being given that much space to create. But as you can see, like kind of looking out at things, it was really difficult to create during that period. I think just in general, looking at the anxiety in the world and just the weight of everything felt very heavy. On top of that, I had this kind of random thing. I mean, not so random thing happen with my jaw, but right at the beginning of the pandemic, in the middle of making this record and what was previously going to be the record, I just had this like thing start happening, and they thought it was TMJ, and I mean, I guess technically it is TMJ, but my jaw was locking up, and it would happen every now and then in the studio as we were writing. Just out of nowhere, one day, I just back home in Alaska for AFN, had this big, like it locked, and trying to get my jaw closed, I had this big pop. And I had broken the top off of the, like that knuckle piece on the right mandible in my jaw. And when that happened, they found that I had actually broken my jaw back in like around high school or earlier. We were like hockey kids. I mean, Alaskans are pretty wild. we are not chill. Lots of four-wheelers, dirt bikes, hockey, gymnastics. And I did a lot of stuff growing up. I have no idea where I broke it the first time, but I mean, it basically shut me down for a year of pretty intense PT and just recovery, rehab on my jaw, just to get it to where I could talk again and I could start working. I'm gonna try to not talk about this too much because I think once it's out there, it's just that's what it is. I couldn't make music for a year, and it really caused me to sit back and think about why we do this and kind of scrap what we had looked at before and just be introspective and think about family. And I mean, the reason we make music is the family around it. Um, Personally, I am a huge fan of people who are passionate about something. And playing music, it like puts you in that situation every single night. Like I show up as a fan, and I can't tell you enough how stoked I am to be there with y'all every night and be there around people who really love music and are passionate about it. I started writing about that, writing about the band and like this weird family that we've kind of created, and just how heavy everything has kind of been weighing on all of us. The first half of the album is very introspective, or it's more family based. It is Chris Black. The name of the album is Chris Black Changed My Life. He was this person who, I mean, he was just really a special person in all of our lives. Everybody who knew him, I think a lot of y'all knew him as well. Um, just this really like positive person in the group. Not only was he like emotionally uplifting and I guess spiritually uplifting, he I mean, physically, like this dude like really took care of everybody around him. And I wrote a lot about that in the first half, was this like family that we create. And we all do it, whether it's in a workplace or in high schools, or as we go out into the world, we kind of create this group that is our friends and family, the people that we turn to that support us. And we really saw it over the last few years is how important that group is to all of us. I mean, whether there are no politics to it. There's no like whether you were like mask on or mask off folks, you had your group that we all went home to. And yeah, I really kind of delved into family, which has always been important to me. And then the second half of this album, more introspective and more kind of looking back at my life and things I could have done differently. And I mean, a lot of those, like, I mean, I wish we could have been there for people in more moments. And it's things we all sit and think about. We all, from time to time, lay in bed at night and stare at the ceiling and go, God, I wish I had done that one thing differently. I went into that a little bit. So AFK, baby. Yeah, so we just kind of delved into our lives, and I just what it is meant to be around everybody, be around everyone that's been following this group. I love all the different groups that we've kind of run into along the way. I love the like punk rock first portion of this band, where the first 2 years we toured with hardcore bands. We can get burgers.
Tell us more about those burgers,
Um,
John.
yeah, no, I would like to talk about the burgers. Essentially, that's what I did the whole first half of this pandemic with jaw issues. Learn to cook a good burger. But yeah, we should go into questions. I mean, the album is done. It's finally coming, and I'm psyched. Sorry for the jump start at the beginning of last year. I mean, it's like literally been a year since we did that tour, but a lot of stuff happened on the tour, and I mean, it really caused us to look at a lot of things. And I'm excited to put out all new music and do something really fun with that. I want to go out on tour and like really delve into the back catalog and play a lot of this new stuff and do it in a way that's fun and compelling, and just the reason we started playing music in the first place. I mean, the last couple of shows we did, we really scrapped everything, and we just went, yeah, I haven't played marching with six in 10 years. Let's do it. That shit's fun, man. It was really fun going into the practice space and just kind of, you know, taking the gloves off and really just jamming again. I mean, you get stuck in that cycle of, okay, I gotta show up at Coachella this week and then be at Lollapalooza in a month. Like, however these things were getting lined up, and it caused everything to get really like, you got to get really set on these festival sets. And I'm pretty ready to throw that out the window and do something really exciting and and fun again for me.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. I saw a question on here that I think is a good start to getting some questions. Somebody asked if Heavy Games, the new Heavy Games, relates sonically or thematically to, you know, the original release of Heavy Games, and if there's a potential for a part 3.
Oh, dude, that's too funny. So Heavy Games, the original Heavy Games that we wrote, it has thematically, I guess it is related in a way. So George Romero's Night of the Living Dead was an allegory for the political divide that he was seeing at the time. This is, I mean, whenever he made that movie. It's old. I loved it. And I think of zombies in that way. Like, it's a really great representation of kind of what we're dealing with. When I wrote Heavy Games, I was actually writing it for this. I love TV, and I cannot stress this enough to you guys. Like, I absolutely love discovering a song in a TV show or a movie. It's really how I discovered music. So we grew up in a cabin. We grew up dog sled mushing. So I'd watch these movies. This is one of the movies I watched, Night of the Living Dead. Was so enthralled with this kind of Reaper zombie movie. Like, you should be able to get away. Why can't you get away? Learning more as I got older about what he was writing about, we actually got brought in to write a song for The Walking Dead. And one of the things that they always tell you when you go in to write for TV or movies or whatever is they say, just do me a favor and, like, don't write about anything. You guys can, like, write about whatever you want. It does not need to be about the TV show. It always needs to be about the TV show. That's always going to be the note that you get back. So when I went in to write for it, I just kind of wrote about zombies and kind of my take on Romero. This song sonically is not related and lyrically is not related, but the subject matter is very much the same. It is talking about just how complicated people are. We're complicated and we're basic at the same time. I mean, it is. I think it's always been a really interesting subject to me. Is, what are we? Who are we? Why? Why are we here? It really delves into the friendships and family and just traumas we all kind of deal with, and what does it all mean, and why are we so different? You know, why do we feel we're so different? But yeah, no, it's different, but the same.
I love that.
That didn't answer anything.
It's the correct answer. It's the best answer. That kind of, to piggyback off of that, is there a song, I've seen a couple people ask that, is there a track or a song or a portion of the album that you enjoyed working on most throughout this whole process?
Okay, so it's all pretty interesting. Like, because we finished the album, you finally get to listen to the master. And the way we broke up the master is the way I like to listen to music personally is side A, side B. Every album has two sides, and that's as simple as you can look at it. There's literally two sides to these albums. I think it's really important. It was important when I made Censored Colors to have two distinct sides, and I've kind of always done that when I approach making music. Listening to the album as a whole now, it's funny for me because I know what happened while we were recording, and I remember that feeling like the day that I felt like I could sing again. So coming out of like jaw issues and everything, I could sing. So I went into the studio and I wrote this song called Plastic Island and Doubt. So these two songs and Grim Generation, I think that was part of the same kind of group of songs. Like I wrote these three songs. Plastic Island, I guess when it comes out, you'll hear it. I could barely open my jaw. So I was like singing through my teeth in the verses. And there's something like it's like this kind of reserved, very like 90s song. I mean, I was really thinking about like the Blue Album. When I was making this album, I was like, can we make every song like really have its place, really matter? But yeah, I was working on the song and it feels really reserved and it has these moments where it really like opens up and kind of the guitar in it is very like emotional and it's the way I feel when we play live. So I guess that I love listening to that track and hearing the difference between I can barely get this out right now, but it has to come out. I have to do it right now because I need to write again. And then the guitar representing that, like I might not be able to like sing it as loud as I want to right now, but the guitar carries that to me. And you can kind of hear it in some of these songs, like Doubt was another one. And Doubt, yeah, I couldn't sing it properly when it went down. So the initial demo is really soft, but the vocal performance needed to be like full on. It's the best vocal performance on the album is the song Doubt. Probably the most dynamic and just the journey that it takes melodically, I think is really interesting.
That's cool. I don't even think I've heard that before, you explaining it that way. That's awesome. I kind of want to open the floor, see if anybody has any questions that they want to jump off mic and ask away. I think there's a lot of great questions in this thread, but piggybacking off of everything that's already been talked about, I'm sure there's people coming up with some new questions right now. So if you have any, please jump on in.
I've got one.
Well, you first.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. So I asked this question in the chat as well, but I'm kind of curious. So you mentioned Censored Colors, and to me, that's like one of my favorite albums of all time. And I just want to know, like, where was your mind when you were writing these lyrics, and like what inspired that album as a whole?
Censored Colors, right?
Right.
So Censored Colors is very that came out of, so this is our third album, and as you go down the list of our albums, like everything was about learning, and that's what this band has always been. Is album one, Wait Are You Vultures, is here's every single idea I have, as chaotic as it may sound, like tempo changes. Look at all the ideas I have. Like I have to get it out. Like we just had to do that. So it's like proggy and jumps around a lot. Church Mouth is blues based and while still incorporating a lot of the prog riffs because that was so much fun live. We found that the blues riffs were just I live in that pentatonic scale. Like I live in the blues world. It's just the way I was raised. So like that is really fun for me. Censored Colors was me learning to play chords for the first time. So a lot of those songs were written actually sitting down on an acoustic guitar, like learning how to play like a G7. I think that's as deep as my music theory knowledge goes, and I know that because somebody said, "Oh, that's a G7" or whatever. Like I don't really know what that means, but um, I ended up writing about like a lot of the things I listened to with my mom. It was like there's a lot of Bowie and Floyd in that record. There's a lot of like my mom's influence in that album. Thematically, these songs are all about my family. Um, they were all about Alaska. In 1989 is all my fears growing up and watching the news. I could only imagine being a kid right now, and over the last like 3 years, let alone the last 6 or whatever, where things are like really divisive, and it's really weird that we think in this way. Like things don't need to be so divisive. I am a very idealistic person and believe that fully in my belief system. But I also believe that people are able to change and grow and learn, and I think that's an important piece to take with us. So to me, Censored Colors is fully about family. I also think there's like a huge amount of writing that like when you're writing when you write songs, we're nerds, man. Like I'm just throwing words at a board and just going like, oh, okay, that one works there, and you piece this stuff together afterwards. You're like, oh, okay, that's why I threw out that word. That's why it's stream of consciousness. A lot of the time, especially in our earlier work, it's just stream of consciousness, and you go, oh, of course I was singing about family. Of course I was singing about that period. And when I went into that period of my life, it just brought me to these like, oh, wasn't the Cold War scary? Like I thought Russia or Cuba, like somebody is gonna bomb us at some point. Just looking back at history, it's all like things are so much closer than you realize. You know, like when you think about time, you're like, when you're a kid, you're like, man, the '60s were so long ago. And yo, dude, like we are, I mean, 20 years removed from Hey Ya. You know, it's not that long. So that's what Censored Colors is about.
I think somebody else was trying to jump in with a question.
Yeah, me. Uh, this wasn't a question I asked in the Q&A questions channel, but what do you think of the future of your band? I mean, right now you're decently popular, but I have only met like uh, some people that know about you. What do you think about that and your future?
Oh yeah, I love that question or observation. Dude, nobody knows who we are. I mean, it is one of the most special things about this band to me is this is just me. I don't think it matters if I'm the one on that stage. I think it's you guys. Like I think it's people showing up and just being like, "Yo, we're here together." Like that's what the music is about. The music is about like family. It's about life. It's like kind of like views on life, views on like just social observations or like whatever. Like I don't think we really matter as much to that equation. And if anything says that, it's Feel It Still. Nobody knows who this band is. Like if you walk down the street, everybody knows that song. Nobody knows who we are. And I think that's a really like beautiful place, especially for a person with such bad social anxiety. And I still have those. Like I'm comfortable getting on stage, but it's it's not second nature to me. I mean, I was just talking about it with a friend today. It's so interesting when you run into those people where they're just so charismatic. And so like there's no stop. If we took Jack Harlow on his first tour, and I'll tell you what, like watching that kid at the time just in studios every single day, riding in the van, like he just doing his thing. Like every time I'd see him, I would just crack up because this kid just has this like there's this unstoppable thing inside of him. And I love going and seeing him now and just watching that journey. I love charismatic people who feed off of the energy that you give them. We do that, but it's not in a like, hey, everybody, look up here. It's us. It's, dude, that's part of the reason Chris Black was with us. He loves that. Like Chris absolutely loved the attention. He loved getting up on stage and like talking to people and engaging folks. And the reason he was with us is we're not necessarily interested in the celebrity side of entertainment. Entertainment to me is like I think of it as just passionate people. I mean, when I'm at home, I want to watch people love something, and I want to watch people like care about something and tell me about like endlessly about like that one year that they put out this GI Joe with it was the wrong colored leg or whatever. Like I'm so passionate about passionate people, and the future of this band is whatever it wants to be. I mean, I'm really looking forward to the shows and this album. I feel listening back to it that this is as good as I can write an album. That doesn't mean that there's not more in the future. I think there's a lot of things that I want to explore now. I've done like really tight arrangements. I kind of want to get back into like the prog world, and I want to get back into experimenting with form and structure and arrangements and doing things that really take you on a journey. Because this is that journey. This album like really represents it appropriately to me. I mean, working with Jeff Basker and working with people like Danger Mouse and Basker and Asa Taccone. So Asa is from Electric Guest. I write with him a lot, and it's not downplaying writing at all in those sessions. The writing is really exciting and really great when I'm with these people, but it's exciting and it's compelling and it's really, really positive when you're in that space. I love the energy that they bring and the excitement that they bring, and they're just fun to write with. I've kind of done all that. I think I would like to step into a room and just take musical journeys. I feel really, really strongly about the music that we've made over our career, and I mean, I would be happy with everything that you guys have given us up to this point anyway. And I'm more than happy to find new journeys within this that lead us somewhere that is exciting on stage, because that's what you want to share.
Portugal the fans. Somebody else kind of I mean, yeah, it's kind of the direction that you're heading as well, but wanted to ask about touring for this album and what your thoughts are on it and what you want to do with it, basically.
Damn, do I have to talk about touring?
You don't have to talk about touring, but if there's any ideas behind it, if there's anything you want to talk about, somebody asked about it, or we could move on.
It's so funny talking to you about all this stuff, Henry, because you know exactly what we're doing. So yeah, no, we have the plan going forward. So we toured. We're pretty tight on these last runs, and I think we will do. It'll be really tight, but I really wanted to get very exploratory live, and bring like we're putting together a group right now, just to jam and go out and like play these like really cool marquee type shows where we go and play these orchestral performances, and do something really exciting and delve back into the jams, delve back into like a lot of the prog stuff. I really want to perform the new album. It's the first time I've ever felt this way. I've never really felt that in the past. I think everybody who's followed the band forever knows that like I'm not an like play the album type person. And typically when we put on albums, I only want to play a couple of songs. But I've just been looking at the way I was building the set list right before we shut down for the winter. We went out and we worked in a bunch of old stuff, and it kind of took old songs on new journeys, and I really want to play a handful of really special shows to get back into it. We've toured the hell out of the world, and I really just want to give like a handful of really special shows around this album. And I want to do some like album blocks where we do like bits of everything. I want to play a little bit of every as much as we can, like every song in the catalog. I want to try to like touch everything as close as we can. So I'm really excited about it. It's a totally different endeavor than the shit we've done in the past. Like it'll be exciting, and I think that to me sounds like a really special year to create a handful of really special shows. We play Red Rocks, and like people travel around to that, and I always felt like this needs more, and I want to bring that to these shows. I want to bring that more thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want. Yeah, go ahead.
And Henry or John.
Yeah.
Sorry if there's some background noise. Just a side kind of random question, because when you told me about this the other day, you had me cracking up so hard. So many people want to know what happened to Zach's butt.
I know there were so many theories like, oh, that's why that's exciting. Zach is a very much a like go get him type guy. Like he is just like, all right, there's a job, I gotta go do it. He had actually it's just like it's when it happened, I was like, that is so Zach. Kyle had called him up and he just needed help like moving stuff into a studio. Kyle has the sickest studio. Like if you're in Portland, hit Kyle, and if he ever has time to record you, go do it, because he just has a sick studio. But Zach showed up at his house and they're like moving armoires and stuff like downstairs and like desks and stuff. And Zach comes in and Kyle goes, hey, you better wait a second. I should help you with that. Get that desk down the stairs. Zach picks it up. And he's like, oh, I got it. Immediately, first step, feet go out from under him, and he slams down, and he fell and broke Kyle's stairs at his place. And it is the most Zach injury. Like he gets hurt when he's there to help you. And that's just him. Like he shows up. You get 100%.
It's just such a funny story to me.
Thanks.
It is very, very Zach.
It is very Zach.
Anybody else have any good questions that you want to ask?
Am I good?
Yeah, all good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I wanted to ask at the last Q&A, and I wrote it down because I was at the very tail end of it, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe it'll be another time. So I wanted to ask, what inspired the song "Oh Boy"? Because I'm just gonna read off my thing here. I really grew to appreciate it since my brother used it in my grandmother's memorial video, and the lyrics, just the way it like swells and everything, it genuinely always makes me cry. And it's like a special way though. It's not like really sad. It's like a mixture. It's like sad, but you just like kind of see the brighter side of stuff at the same time. I don't know. It's like a whole feeling into itself. I just wanted to know what inspired that, or like what were you thinking when you did it?
Totally. So I wrote that song. It was Kyle and I. Kyle and I sat down. Kyle is he is the greatest writing partner. I mean, just as his knowledge of chords, and I mean, he always has something. So if I'm ever looking, he's like the guy I pass it to. So he and I are sitting down, and I was really trying to write about it. There was this, again, dude. We do a lot of stuff because I'm nostalgic for discovering things. I love discovering things in commercials, in ads. I love sports. Like, we were pretty athletic kids growing up, which is, I guess, a kind of a weird thing for people in music. Um, I've always seen that. We played sports, and we did this video, or we did this song for a video. There was it was this thing for Red Bull. It was that person that jumped, it was like the highest skydive ever. And I was just writing about being that high up. I think William Shatner summed it up pretty nicely when he went up into space with Bezos. Is felt infinite, like, or this, what is it? What was the word that he used? It was immeasurable sadness looking out. And it's not sad to me. I think when you're looking at the earth from up there, I always loved sci-fi, so I just have these images of earth as this little dot floating a bunch, like, amongst the other little dots. And I was just writing about that feeling of being so small. I mean, the fact that we're here is amazing. I mean, so it is really, it's a magical thing. Like, we're here, and it's so small, and it's so fragile. So, oh boy, was really kind of just, I guess, tackling that feeling of, I'm sorry, I'm a pretty emotional person. It makes me feel feelings.
Thank you. That's yeah, that's really great. I'll have to listen to it again and think about that. Thank you.
Somebody else jumped in and asked about, which I always thought was kind of cool, and we've talked about it a couple times, but the shift in sound that happened with Evil Friends, and how Danger Mouse came to work with you guys on this album. How, I mean, it's one of my favorite albums, and they kind of mentioned thinking that it feels like it was very ahead of its time. I don't know if you wanted to talk about working with Danger Mouse and that whole album and everything.
Oh, hell yeah, dude! Ahead of its time. I like that. Yeah, yeah, it was. That's why. Yeah, working with Brian is, talk about, like, iconic producers. And I mean, just the ability. When I listen to that album, I think I see um, endless opportunity, and that's like what Brian presents to you, is you have endless opportunity. So make the right choice, which sounds like they contradict each other in a lot of ways. But I think it's kind of the best way you can look at this stuff is, I can do anything I want. I should pick the one that makes me feel the most, makes me feel the best. Brian really brought a focus to lyric writing. I think coming out of In the Mountain in the Cloud, like, which to me is our best album. So in my opinion, In the Mountain in the Cloud was Portugal the Man at its freest and most, I guess it was just very free with intent. And the intent part is, like, really important to this band post signing to Atlantic. So everything before that was just free. There was no, like, major intent behind it. We wrote a lot of, like, cool things, and I look at it like, wow, there's, like, some really, like, fun little gems in all of those records. It became very, like, mindful within the Mountain of the Cloud, and Evil Friends just focused that. To me, it's a really interesting record. Like, when I go back and listen to it as well, because I listen to it and I hear to me, like Brian is just, he's so good at, he doesn't touch your instruments really. Like, I mean, we play together, and I think that's also like like superpower of his is like, yeah, he will pick up your shit and he will play it. You know, if he hears something, he will go, here's the hook for Modern Jesus. Like, can you beat it? And he kind of like pushes you to be like competitive. And I think that's that's fun. That is like the most fun way to make music is like, it's not like there are different schools of like, like let me take everything out of this room and see what you create. There's nothing in the room. It's just you and your ideas. Brian is very much like, he sees what you're seeing, which is kind of a rarity in producers, and he's very good at like guiding you without really saying it. I mean, I remember reading reviews for that album where people were like, "Oh, the second I heard those bells," and I've said this before in interviews, but the second I heard the bells, the vibraphone on Evil Friends, I knew it was Danger Mouse. And the funniest thing to me is, yo, like, if you guys have seen the Portlandia skit with the studio, like, oh, it's the vibraphone from Pet Sounds. It's literally the vibraphone from Pet Sounds on our album. It is Beach Boys, but just the way it's played and the way it sounds and the way it feels, I don't think there's really any effects on that. It's literally Beach Boys, and people hear Brian in it. I think that's like this amazing skill that he has, and just his taste. I mean, you really play to his taste so much. I mean, talk about like a master curator. I mean, that's what Brian is to me. He is a master curator. Like when you listen to all Brian's records together, you can make a Danger Mouse playlist, and it'll be like, that's a pretty sick playlist. And back to back, none of these things sound the same, but they live in the same world, and it's his world that he's created. It's pretty special. I have different things I talk about around him every single time. So that's, I mean, there's just so many things that we picked up from him, and I picked up from him, and I learned about songwriting and meaning, and really presenting your story in the most focused way possible while letting the music be free.
I like this question that somebody just wrote. It's they mentioned how they felt like there was a huge shift from Evil Friends to Woodstock, and if we'll see another shift going into this new album and sound, because I do think I see what they're saying, but if that makes sense.
Yo, dog, I see what they're saying too. I mean, yeah, no, it's a major shift. I think if anything, like I ended up having a conversation with somebody recently about Woodstock. This is the one album that I've never listened back to after it was done. I never listened back to Woodstock, which is so weird because I just, because of the way I wrote it as a collection of songs. And that's not really innate in me. Like I need to write like full pieces, like write albums. That's important to me. This is Woodstock was meant to sound like and feel like you're at a festival during that period. So like, what do they sound like? Everything's kind of like bouncing all over the place. There's Fat Lip, who wouldn't have been currently playing there, but is like a huge part of my, to the far side, is like a huge part of like my youth and wanting to make music. I just wanted to make an album that sounded like a festival. So I never really listened back to it because it wasn't meant to be listened to in that way. I listened back to it recently, and I have to defend the hell out of that record. That is a good record. Like that is, the songs are super tight. The thing that I think when I listen back to that album is there's a few tracks that I won't name that were supposed to be replayed. And they were, because they were written in the studio, which is just how I write. Like I need to be recording it and kind of hear it back and just keep going and keep building. It's the way my brain works. It helps me to have a reference point. I don't always sit down and just like play things. There were a few songs that needed to be replayed, and even those songs to me are like, they're really, really great songs. Just sonically, like it bounced around a lot. I mean, I think Woodstock is a Mr. Lonely and Noise Pollution, and dude, Feel It Still at #1 and Keep On. So Young is probably one of our best songs we've ever written. But yeah, I think there is a similar sonic shift with Chris Black Changed My Life. The new album is very, I mean, I keep calling it Northern Soul, and it's mainly because like when we were in the studio, I didn't want to listen to other artists. I wanted to like, as I was going back in, I just referenced like these photos of people because I just remember like opening Hit Parader or Mojo, like opening these magazines as a kid, and when I started playing music and seeing these like pictures of like Ian Brown or Nolan Liam and PJ Harvey, and these like, I mean, super sick outfits. Like the aesthetic was killer, and there was something about like Joy Division, like just their whole vibe is like again like the way they looked was really exciting to me. That aesthetic, it makes me think of like, you know, the hardcore bands. You've seen the hardcore meme. Anybody who hasn't seen the hardcore meme, there's this meme, and I will butcher it, but Tobey Maguire putting on his glasses and Spider-Man, and if the band on stage looks like this, you're gonna die in the pit. There's something like, it's always gotten me like the aesthetic of some of these groups, like those hardcore bands with the tucked in button down t-shirts and just like pretty like standard glasses. Dockers, those were the most hardcore. I wrote this album looking at a lot of those pictures and just thinking like, what did that sound like? It's an era that I missed. Like I didn't get like 90s British, like 80s, 90s British music. Like I just didn't. And yeah, I kind of wrote an album thinking about soul and what does it feel like to play these instruments. So much of the record is to tape, which is a departure for us anyway. Like I don't really record tape. It's very tight, like song to song. It feels like it's the best flow that I've had on an album. And like I said at the start, like I wanted to write something like the Blue Album, and just really think about the importance of each song on the album and what it means to the next song. Like how does it relate? How does Grim Generation relate to Plastic Island on the second half? We have some rad features. We have a lot of really cool stuff in here. I mean, I really think it led to writing something like Woodstock that was so disjointed. I think it led to writing our best album. To me, this is like, it's the first time I felt like I wanted to play the whole thing. I want to build a show that reflects that. Like I want to do some like really fun shit and like hang out with people and just kick it again and meet you out back after the show.
Sick. Fun stuff. Anybody else want to jump in before we start to kind of wrap this thing up a little bit?
I mean, I do. I want to jump in because I saw a million questions about PTM Coin, and I hope we're not filtering those. But I do think I would like to talk about that because I was caught off guard with it too. I think in watching everything that's been happening, it was clearly like easy to take advantage of that situation. Our intent with all of it, like I'm a video game nerd. I mean, I like that you create your own avatar. I like that you like exist in this digital space. just to put it in like a really basic sense, I wanted to create things that we can still create with that. Whether it's like holders that had them before or whatever. I'm interested in seeing what the owners of the company did, just like everybody else. We never cashed out or anything. Like we just were hanging with y'all, and we wanted to create these like real world things that you could buy and you could purchase without having to spend money, and where your value could go up without you having to do anything. And we offered a lot of things for purchase, and I think I would like to still see that happening, but we just have to fund it in a different way. And I think it's going to be really exciting going forward. I liked all the ideas that were kind of coming in over the last couple of days. If you guys feed the general PTM chat with ideas for things, like I read all that shit. I think it is really special to have community and the communication, while also knowing that like we do what we're gonna do and we'll do what we can. But I'd love to see the eventual like fishing trips and like hangouts and those really special events and like I mean, I love the idea of a community where I could put out like just even special T-shirts and like discount codes. Like I'd like to see things like that. I want to see like, and I shouldn't be saying any of this out loud. I want to see like $10 T-shirt. I want to feel like I did when I went. Like the reason I started playing music is because I saw $3 shows and free shows, and I would get $10 T-shirt, and I could barely afford any of that. It was like legit, like that's all the money I have right now, and I can't always get a T-shirt. So sometimes I would miss it, but I really want to create opportunity, especially within this group and the Discord, to create these opportunities where it's like there's like a no profit. Actually, I won't use the word non-profit, but like a no profit shirt or like grace period on things where we can sell you guys things and just create this like it don't spend all your fucking money on this type of world. I think that would be really cool and exciting. I don't like the idea of people losing money on anything. That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a big bummer. And I saw a lot of comments on the Discord, but one big shout out to the admins that help run this page. I mean, they're fans, same as the Reddit. It's people that were there from the start, and that's what PTM's all about. Portugal the fans. So we're reading all your ideas, and I think that you guys have some really cool ideas. You drop and take a look at them and see what we can do and make it all work, which is fun. Anybody else have any questions?
I have
It's me
a
again.
pretty vague one.
You're first
Yeah.
again.
Overall, I remember one of my first like musical obsessions was Weird Al Yankovic, and when I discovered that you guys had a song with him, I kind of just freaked out a bit. How was it working with him, just as a person, I guess?
Oh, he's a Weird Al Yankovic, the
Yeah,
nicest person
Weird
in
Al.
the world. Like he's the nicest. He is the best. Like, you know, half of this band is not on like really on the internet or like Wikipedia or anything. He hits every single one of them up on their birthday. I mean, Zoe wrote me and was like, "Why is Al writing me? Like, how does he know my birthday? Did Rich tell him? Did somebody tell him? Nobody told him. He is the most special person in this world, and I'm not exaggerating. Like he is just so unique in every way and caring and so attentive. Like I guarantee he must be doing a million things. If you write him right now, he's writing back. He really cares about family, and we actually tried. I actually heard him talking to Guy Raz. I don't know if you guys know who that is, but he did a podcast. He was talking to Guy Raz about trying to write with us because I wanted to write with him. He is the greatest lyricist of all time. Like I hold him on in the highest regard. Like that person writes the best lyrics. He makes you laugh and he makes you feel things. I will, to this day, I'm like, Yoda is better than Lola, hands down. Like it's not even close. And I think he really outplays every single artist that he tackles. He's so smart, and the way he writes lyrics. He wrote lyrics for me at one point, and we were just kind of going back and forth, and just his options. I mean, he went through it and he was like, "Well, I have 20 lines for every one line that needs to be sung. Like he can use any of these." But he was talking about it like it was so difficult, and to me, I was just like, "Man, like Al trying not to be funny. Like he doesn't even try. He's just so hilarious and so careful with his words, and he's super sweet. He's everything like you want him to be, and weirdly, we have appropriate word for Al, but weirdly shy.
Cool. Thank you for answering, John.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I remember the video you posted that he made for your birthday. I mean, he had like a full production video.
What is that? Is that a thing that he does? It must be. Every
Yeah.
time I've seen that pop up, I'm like, yo, this must be like a thing that he has with Hallmark or something. There must be like an Al thing. I just does he record every single name? He didn't make that just for me, did he?
I don't know. I have this vision that he has like a studio in his house and he actually just brings people in and makes videos for people.
He might have just made it for me. I mean, that'd be amazing. But I can't imagine I take up that much time. He is incredible.
I think somebody else was trying to jump in as well and ask a question if you want to.
Yeah, it's me again. It's one of the questions I asked in the Q&A question channel. It's about if you're planning to actually try again to come to Monterrey at some point since you couldn't back in 2020.
Oh, that was such a bummer. It's dude. I mean, you know why we didn't come? Like it was the beginning of COVID and just multi-generational families in Mexico. It was like the area where we kind of had to be the most cautious with what we were doing. We felt like it would have been irresponsible for us to be a part of it. Sadly, the festival happened anyway, and we probably should have. I mean, they already did it. Like we probably should have just gone. I want to go back so bad. It's one of my favorite places in the world to play. Mexico, South America, anywhere in South America, like and Mexico are like the most fun that we have out on tour. It's so cool. Like I said, I mean, I care about passionate people. The reason I like playing shows is as a person with stage fright and a person who is with social anxieties and not really feeling super comfortable on stage in front of people, that passion like really makes me want to play. And man, does Mexico have passion for music. It's something like we should really all be like, that's the one thing I want to put out there is just I'm so appreciative when I go to shows and when we play shows, getting to hang with people who care about music as much as I do. I mean, it's meant to get you through shit. Like, I mean, that's what it always did for me was I would sit out in this cabin out in the woods and with our dog sled teams and all this stuff around, we would listen to oldies radio. And I would go, wow, this is so cool. Like, I'm listening to the same music out here that they're listening to in London and Paris. Like this is Motown. This is Roy Orbison. Like everybody knows Roy. I love passionate people. Yeah, hopefully we can get back. I would love to get back this year. I think the idea right now is like I want to play some really special shows that have a lot of meaning and are really just I really want to blow it out at a few things and get the band really working super tight, fluid way that represents like where it all came from.
All right, thank you. I will. It will really mean a lot to me if you actually came here. Yeah, I've been listening to your music for 3 years, and you've already become my favorite band of all time. And well,
Oh damn.
that was my last question. I have to go dinner now.
All
See
right, well
you.
have a good dinner.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
I think that could be a good time to wrap it up.
We're gonna wrap it up.
I mean, unless
What?
people have questions, if you guys want to jump in.
If there's more questions, I will answer them.
I've got something.
Yeah.
So it's kind of circling back a little bit to the topic of the merch, because a lot of your merch designs are very unique, and that also goes into the album cover designs, which I'm guessing is all your doodling. So I'm just kind of curious where that style sort of came from, because it's unique.
Okay, so growing up in Alaska, we this is weird, but growing up, we always had um, an encyclopedia set, and I knowing my parents so well over my entire lifetime now, I can't imagine that it was like more than just a like. My dad likes flipping through history, that's like what he likes doing. But there was this encyclopedia set that was out in the woods with us. Like, it was everywhere with us. And I would flip through it and I would see art, whether it's like Western stuff or it's American history or fine art. And I would see art. And this is like what it is. It was being introduced to things like, okay, so I mean, I'm really taking from the beginning right now, but we had a video store called Connect Country Video out in Connect. And I swear to God, this video store must have just picked up everybody's like discount bin videos that nobody was watching in the country. Because this is a small place. Connect is tiny. We had a gas station and a bar and a liquor store. Like that was our town. Like, and it was spread out. Like those are like even the bar and the liquor store are 15 minutes from each other. 20 minutes. Like it's maybe 15 miles away. It's Alaska's very spread out, very like lots of space. The movies I used to watch growing up, we would go into this video store and we would rent. So this is a kid who grew up just seeing like fine art and things from encyclopedias. Like this is what art looks like. And then out of nowhere, we go to Knick and we start renting videos. And I'm seeing things like my rental list is like Plague Dogs. If you guys want like a movie list, it's Plague Dogs, Light Years, or Gandahar, Fire and Ice, Fantastic Planet was one of them that I think a lot of people know at this point. There are so many more. Fritz the Cat, with all the Ralph Bakshi stuff, all like Lord of the Rings, Wizards. So Ralph Bakshi was like a huge thing in this video store for whatever reason. But I watched a lot of like foreign and more like adult themed videos, which it might have warped me a little bit along the way. But it was I have no idea why this video store had these, and they kept it all in the kids section. So as an adult now, I would never let Francis watch this stuff as a kid. There's nudity and like kind of extreme violence and really intense situations, but it really like put this like bent on my art take. But it was still like somewhat highbrow. So I guess it lives in the lowbrow world, but it's art. It wasn't until I saw Ed Templeton and Toy Machine, and like graduated into like skate culture, Alien Workshop, these things. Like it was seeing that art that really brought me in at like an entry level, like, oh, I guess art doesn't necessarily need to be like paintings or even animation cells. It could be as simple as a t-shirt. It could be as simple as like this little crab guy on a skateboard or this robot. And Ed Templeton is a huge influence on my art. Whether you see it in the art or not, it was seeing that and going, oh, that's cool. Handwritten titles, like that's rad. Like these little like really
Rather
shitty
suckers.
animations.
All right, you're good to go, John.
Cool. I mean that's it. Like it was. Those are all the influences. I mean that's how I got into drawing, and it's really incorporated into this new album. So that was another thing looking back at Woodstock. Like it was unintentional, but it felt like I needed to like step away, like do something different and do something that was more like graphic based. I love McClay, Harriet's photos, our whole crew like around us, like that whole world that exists around the band is like very family centric. So McClay, Harriet takes all the photos, and it's either McClay or Brock Fetch or Josue Rivas taking photos currently. Yeah, people like Danny Clinch pop into that world every now and then. I think it's really funny, like seeing them try to navigate this like family world of like really talented folks. And Austin Sellers, like I've done the design of this band since the very beginning with Austin Sellers, and I will credit Austin with pushing me to be the artist in this band. And it all came about because I had this idea of what I wanted Waiter You Vultures. I wanted our website to look like, and I kept drawing it for him. And I still remember the look on his face. Austin is very funny, like he's very dry, laughs a lot. Like he's one of those people that just like he's always giggling about something. I remember sitting down and drawing over and over, like, I think the name should look like this. I think the character should be like this, but good. You know, that was like the comment was like, it should be this, but good. And I kept saying that. Austin was just like looking at me, and like his like blank stare is kind of one of my favorites because he just said that he was like, you should just do it. You should do it. You should do it. And I couldn't tell if he was joking or not. And it finally clicked that I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm doing the art thing. Like that's what it is. It's whatever comes out. It doesn't need to be so precious. Like I'm looking at it going, could this be like more of a graphic based thing, or like a character that like something I'd seen before? And Austin's just looking at me going, you do it. Like it's you. And since then we've created this like really fun world of like Austin Sellers is there. He does all like the graphic design and like layout work. And he like super talented artist himself. I mean, you should look back. Hopefully he has like a catalog of his poster design somewhere. He was like the person that making all these rad posters in Portland. Forever, his typography, his like fonts that he would hand draw, it's so sick. Like that dude is just incredible. We work with M Steele as well as an artist. She is awesome. She created the logo for the new album. And she's been working with Wes Hubbard, Wooden Cyclops, on like different tank dog drawings. And I don't know if you guys have seen that character, but there's this pink, like really fun cartoonish character that we'll be following along on the album. And that was created by our first keyboard player. So whenever you see that tank dog, Wooden Cyclops is the first keyboard player of this band. He and I started the band together like pre-Zach. He was the original member in the band with me. So it's been really fun, like creating things with him and creating this world of like, it should just be all the shit that we thought was fun. You know, that's what it should be. Everything should be that. It should just be, I fucking love having fun and drawing pictures with my friends. So yeah, M Steele, Zoe is a ridiculous artist. She is incredibly talented. I mean, that's how we all met. She was a an illustrator and a muralist. Like she can kind of do it all. Zach takes photos. I mean, that's like where we all start fitting into this world, is like everybody kind of has like an art collective thing happening. You want to go fishing, we're gonna go. Like that's our take your mind off the day with Zach. So yeah, there's a lot of different people who do different things in this group.
Yeah, thank you. Very insightful. I didn't really realize that stuff like the single album cover for or the single cover for Feel It Still was a collaboration between Austin and McClay. It's just a very beautiful cover, and yeah, cool to get some insight on that. And then of course everything else you mentioned. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, it's so fun. Like it's so fun looking at this stuff, just having like a concept and then seeing those two just kind of like pull it off. They worked heavily on the new album layout. We all kind of did that stuff together. Like, so it's lots of drawings again, and really like a walk through the history of PTM through the album artwork. I'm really, really, really proud of what every piece brought to the album artwork. I mean, it's our most special layout I've seen. Just the content, the symbolism. There's a lot of symbolism in the artwork that mirrors the album, and I think we talked about this a year ago, talking about what the album is and what it all means. It's taken a minute to like clear everything, because there's a lot of family history in the album and a lot of PTM history in pulling it all together. It took a long time to clear everything, and we're still not clear on a lot of it. But it's coming regardless.
Very excited to see it. Very excited to see whatever concept you have for whatever editions are going to come out. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, as far as editions go, I made like a ton of different covers, so I'm really excited to see all the different covers come out. But I really wanted to make a traditional layout that is actually focused on content and not like super expensive. Like I remember one year this packaging, it was like everybody was talking about this packaging, and I was like, motherfucker, that is just expensive toys, and that's not affordable for like the normal, like the average person. And it's too exclusive. Like I like things that are not like, it's fun to get your hands on it, sure, but like I like things, when we make it, things to be accessible and people can get it.
Cool. I think that's a great spot.
Yeah, I can go back to playing Fortnite.
Yeah, get back on it.
Sick, dude. We get some fucking dubs.
Thanks everyone for
Dropping
jumping in.
boys.
Chris recorded this, so he'll post it up in a couple days when he's off work. And if anybody has any more questions, I mean, John always dives into the chats every once in a while. I'm always in there, so fill this up.
Yeah, I'm always in the chat too, even if I don't like respond right away or anything. Like I'm always there hanging. So if you have any questions, like just hit us, because I kind of talk.
Rad. All right, everybody. Have a good rest of your night.
Later, gang.